And I decided that I was going to collage some ephemera on that my friend Heidi Richards had sent me, an old gardening sort of catalogue. And I wanted to do some sort of a border in watered down gesso. I had some initial idea that I would actually doodle on that and do some kind of a border and do something in the middle. And then I remembered that I had something else I wanted to do, so I decided that I would just dry this off and then continue on with the page. And of course I use all my gesso up. I'm going to put it in the next one. You can't really use this paper untreated at all. So I'm pulling out some gelatos and just scribbling them in, because all I want to do is just sort of tint the page a bit, adding some white in there so that I still get that kind of pastel-y muted effect. And of course it gives a very different look over the border, which I think is pretty awesome. Now this was a coffee cup. My husband brought home this coffee cup and I absolutely loved it. Said, you've got to save that for me, and then I pulled it apart and that was just the casing on the outside, so it didn't have coffee on it. So I straightened up 3 of the 4 edges and left the curved top because I didn't want to cut the tops of their heads off. And I just thought to myself, no, I'm going for a vintage theme here. So I decided to use some crackle, some script in the background, just going over a beautiful Kazaz stamp and just sealing that. And now I've just put that in and I'm like, oh, I love that. It's one of the masters, probably a Renoir. And so I'm just using some gel medium to actually adhere that on, but it was very glossy, so I decided that I would then put some clear gesso over that, and then consequently the tip in and the fold out and the rest of the page, which made it a bit gritty but certainly gave it tooth, and just dried that off. And now you can see that I'm just starting to get this kind of old world feeling, and the gloss has gone off that coffee cup cover. And I've decided I'm going to use some Tim Holtz Rock Candy crackle paint, because I actually have decided now that I want that coffee cup cover to kind of look like an old painting. So I'm going to use a little bit of ink, but of course that's, with all the grit in the clear gesso, it started to eat up my Ranger inking tool, and so I kind of threw it away in the end. Now I'm applying the rock candy, and that was a little bit solidified, so I actually just added a bit of water to it and put it on quite thickly, and I got some random crackle in the top, which looks like a crackle varnished painting. Yeah, it looks pretty good in the end. So now I'm just using some burnt umber, fluid acrylic, golden fluid acrylic, because I just want to have the pink showing through but really start to vintage it up. And because I couldn't use really ink, which is the look I was going for, I decided to use paint. So, and of course it had great tooth for paint. Now I'm using a brown Stabilo Ore pencil and just putting my borders in, because you all know I love my borders. And I love framing the page. Now this is a really odd little bamboo mark making quill, and I've got my grandmother's old crystal ink well, and it's not the best thing to write with. I actually need to get an ink well dip, an ink dip nib pen, but it did the trick for what I wanted it to do, because I wanted this writing in the background to kind of really blend into the background, but I wanted this word to be really strong, so I'm putting a lot of effort into it and using a little bit of my calligraphy skills to actually do some nice script there. And then the tip in, I wanted to have something else about how I was feeling at the time, and it's don't let life beat you. And again, I'm just using that script. It's quite fun to do with the ink. And that's just India ink, so it dries permanent, but I decided that I was not going to wait until it was permanent. So I blotted off and had a really good go at it. So I was just thinking, what am I going to put here in this corner? It's a little bit empty. I could leave it there, but I decided I wouldn't. And I found a really old photo, 1963 photo, black and white photo, that my friend Gina Aarons had sent me. So that's another thing from my stash. And just activating the Stabilo All Pencil just to darken those edges, which made me think, yep, this page needs to be darker. So adding some more paint in, and that ink is not quite dry, and you can see that it's lifting the blackness of the ink out, but it's also making it smear a bit. And I'm just aging that photo, aging the photo, aging the painting. So I was looking through my stash for something else, and I remembered I had these metal embellishments that Claudia Rossi gave me at Christmas, and they were quite old. And I thought, oh great, they're metal, I'll use my alcohol inks on them and age them. And you can spray your alcohol inks either with alcohol or with water to disperse them. And I didn't have my alcohol spray on me. I don't know, I put it down somewhere and can't find it, because of course, you know, you leave alcohol spray all over the house, of course. So then I just dried it off, and of course you can see some of the flowers bubble because I was insistent about it. And then I had a bit of a yen to use some glossy accents, and I thought, no, I want just the flowers to actually be kind of glass-like and glossy. So yeah, I've got glossy accents there, and I thought, oh yeah, I'll just go over them with glossy accents, and then they'll look like they've got a clear enamel over the top. And so I'm just applying that, and then that takes a little while to dry. Got to make sure that you keep those flat when that happens, otherwise it will leak to one side. So they're dry, and I'm using diamond glaze to adhere the metal to the page. Diamond glaze or glossy accents will actually adhere metal to a page. And I really like that muted look that I've got there. I like it a lot actually. Just adds that little bit of finality and interest, and of course they were slightly bent out of shape, so then I weighed them down. I had an idea to stamp the inside flap, and I have unevenness because I've used bits and bobs, and of course it didn't come out. So then I got the crackle stamp and just thought, oh, I can press that into it.